right. Well, it's 2:03. Would you like to get started?
Yeah, absolutely. Sounds
Okay.
great.
Awesome.
She's ready.
So thank you for those of you who are tuned in right now. My name is Anna Lay. I am the Assistant Outdoor School Coordinator with the Kalapua Watershed Council. And our guest biologist spokesperson today is Kathleen with the Chintimini Wildlife Center. And she is here to talk about all things birds of prey. And she has a special friend with her today, who's joining us. And that's going to be super exciting. So I'm going to bring it back to Kathleen and let her introduce herself.
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Kathleen. I'm the Raptor Education Program Director here at Chintimini. And today we'll be answering some questions and talking about birds, which is my favorite subject.
Great. Awesome. And then, yeah, so again, we are, unfortunately, due to everything that's happening right now, outdoor school is canceled. And so is talking with Kathleen, we're hearing that like the education portion of things are on hold right now, but you can access all of our online resources. I know Kathleen over at Chintimini Wildlife Center and other folks are making videos, doing really cool, awesome things, and those are still available for everyone at home to access. And then we can definitely provide a link and more information upon that. And then all of our outdoor school resources and online resources can be accessed through the Kalapua Watershed Council website, which is just kalapua.org. And then Kathleen, do you remember what your website or where they can find their videos is?
Yeah, you just go onto chintiminiwildlife.org in order to access our website. And then you can also follow us on Facebook and Instagram, because we'll probably be adding some Instagram live videos and things too. Great. And we will post updates on our patients that come into the clinic, as well as fun little videos with ambassadors such as Penny. So I think she likes that it echoes in here. Oh, it's echoing. It's so loud.
Awesome. And then I just got notification that there will also be videos available soon on the Greater Albany School District website as well. So yeah, we can repeat all of this at the very end, just for those of you who are going to be tuned in a little bit later. But yeah, so do you want to just jump in the first question, Kathleen?
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Okay, so you mentioned that you work in the education side of things, primarily like with birds of prey. Can you describe or talk more about like what's the difference between a bird of prey and like a non-bird of prey?
Yeah, for sure. So we have with us a really fine example of that. So Penny here is a type of bird of prey. She has three different, well, besides the yelling, that's not a thing that makes her a bird of prey. But so Penny has got a hooked beak, which is meant for ripping into flesh. She's got talons, and she also has really amazing eyesight, which she is utilizing right now, looking out the window at something that I don't know what it is, probably another bird. But so birds of prey or raptors, they have binocular vision, a hooked beak, and then hooked talons. And I have, actually I have a skull, since Penny probably won't let me get too close with the phone there. I have this really cool skull that I can show. This is from an American kestrel, and you can see how hooked the beak is, where a lot of other birds will have a straight beak. And it also has, I don't know if you can see, how well you can see that, but about halfway up the beak, there's a little tooth, a little notch. And falcons have this thing called a toenail tooth, that notch. And they will sever the spinal cord of their prey when they bite down on the spine. So it's pretty cool, this little notch. So they can dispatch their prey really fast, and that would lessen the likelihood of them getting attacked back by whatever they catch. And they also have really powerful talons, which grip onto their prey and hold onto it. And I do, oh, here, right in front of me. So I do have a foot from a raptor. This is from a, yeah, I know. This is from a sharp-shinned hawk, but the foot is pretty similar to a kestrel because the toes are very thin and long, and these foot like this is meant to grab onto a bird. It can those talons can actually grab right through the feathers and grip onto the body of the bird, so it's pretty neat. And you can also see, I think if I get it really close, you can see that there's scales on the feet, and that protects the feet from whatever might bite back, like rodents. And then, and then that binocular vision. So they can see about 10 times better than we can. They have vision that is really, really good for seeing in the front. And so that means that they can see really far away, so they can be very high up. Kestrels, in particular, they like to hover above their prey, and then they'll swoop down and grab it. So if you have that kind of vision, you can stay up in the air and then swoop down when it's the right time to grab it.
Cool. And then I have another question going off of what you just said. You said that their kind of beak allows them to sever the spinal cord. Can you talk about like what kind of prey these bird of prey kind of feed on?
Yeah. So let's see. Yeah, raptors, they eat a huge diverse amount of animals. The main thing is that they do eat live prey. And in the case of Penny, a small little kestrel, she's not going to be out there hunting rabbits like a red-tailed hawk would be. So a kestrel like Penny is going to be mostly eating things like small mice and insects even, and then small birds. So a bird that's about her size or a little bit smaller, she's able to catch by using really quick maneuvers in the air. But they'll also pounce down on the ground and catch small rodents, which is pretty neat to watch if you're out out at a wildlife refuge and there's an open field. Sometimes you can see the kestrels hovering and then swooping down, so that's pretty fun.
That's pretty neat.
Yeah, her favorite food, if you're wondering, is mice. So
what does the feeding regimen look like for you all over there?
Yeah, our birds, we closely track their weight because we want to make sure that they're getting enough food to be healthy, but we don't want to overfeed anybody, so we weigh them every day. And Penny weighs about 1/4 pound, so she's really tiny, but she eats about 25% of her body weight every day. So she eats about a mouse a day, and yeah, so we have people that prep their food and they weigh it out on scales, and then we feed it to them. And of course their weight fluctuates with the weather and if we're exercising them and stuff. But yeah, and we try to feed her things that she would get in the wild. So she does eat some chicks, which is of course a bird. And now it's raining, so she's like, what's happening? Today she's getting rat, which is not something, like a rat is not something that a kestrel would normally get. They're pretty big, and but she does get some rat meat as well as mouse meat and quail and also mealworms. We will hide little mealworms in her enclosure, or we'll put them in little containers for her to hunt. So we like to let the animals express their natural behaviors, even though they're with us in human care. We like them to be really stimulated, of course, and to display some of those natural behaviors that they would in the wild.
Awesome. And then for all of us who can't really tour the facility right now or really come and check it out, can you give us a rundown of how many birds you have on site?
Yeah, so right now we have 10 or 11, I always forget the exact number, birds of prey. So we have a bald eagle, we have 2 turkey vultures, we have 3 owls, I think, we have a rough-legged hawk, and most of these birds came into the clinic and they were injured, and so they can't go back out to the wild. But in the case of a couple birds, like Penny here, we have actually 3 birds that were imprinted. So that means that someone found them when they were very young and they tried to raise them, and they hand fed them, and they made them really friendly to people. And as a result of that, the birds never learned how to hunt. They actually need to learn how to hunt when they're they need to develop those skills. So they need their parents to teach them, to help them hunt, to learn how to survive in the wild. So if they never got those skills, and if they fly at people for food, then they can't be released to the wild, because it'd be really dangerous to have a huge, like hawk flying at you for food, which has, happened. So yeah, definitely not contenders for release in that case, but we will put them in education programs, or we can even keep them as ambassadors here. But the main objective here at Chintimini is to release animals to the wild.
Awesome. And then can you just give us more examples of what kind of animals are there?
Oh yeah, gosh. Right now we have a lot of goslings, and we have a lot of actually orphan babies right now. So actually, thank you for bringing this up, because I wanted to show the viewers, we have a couple of charts here, and one is, I found a baby bird, now what? So this guy, it's a flow chart, and it shows you different steps to take based on what you find. So did you find a bird with no feathers? Is it fledging? So is it learning how to fly? What do you do? So this flow chart is available on the ChintiminiWildlife.org website, and you can print it off and keep it handy if you want. And we're also open every single day of the week. We're open from 9 until, is it 7? Okay. We're open from 9 until 7. So during those hours, you can call us. So if you're going for a walk in your neighborhood, and if you see a bird on the ground and you're not really sure if it's injured or what's going on, just give us a call, because it's, better safe than sorry. But we also don't want people to bring in animals if they don't need to come in. So sometimes there's fledgling baby birds that are just learning how to fly, and the parents are actually around feeding them and making sure that they're okay. In that case, you just leave them alone. But there's some cases where absolutely they should come into the Wildlife Center and get treatment. And there's also this chart on our website too that has, I found a baby mammal, now what? So this happens during this year quite a lot. People are out there doing lawn maintenance. I know a lot of people in my neighborhood are. And so when you're out there, you might find a nest with baby bunnies in it. We do get quite a few baby bunnies in every year. And so we just ask people to, just check out your space and make sure that there aren't any nests that you're going to disturb when you do any kind of yard maintenance. And to give us a call too if you need help with anything. So
thank you for that tip. That's really helpful, and I'll be sure to start sharing that with everyone again. Because I know oftentimes when I'm going for a stroll or a hike in my neighborhood, I find like fledglings or birds on the ground and just mammals and wildlife. And there's a lot of questions of what do I do next, and how do I approach this? And like you said, it's really important to keep the animal where it is. And then if they need help, bring it in for help. But if they don't, just kind of let nature do its thing. So thank you for that reminder.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I mean, the main takeaway is if you ever have any questions, if you're not sure, to give us a call, because we're here, and that's what we're here for. So
yeah, that's a good tip. Yeah. And someone said that they found a baby skunk the other day and ended up calling the Humane Society. So yeah, kudos to you. I want to open it up to. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I said no. That's awesome. Yeah, that's great that they've called.
Yeah. So I just wanted to open it up to everyone and remind everyone that they are more than welcome to ask Kathleen and I some questions.
Or Penny?
Want to. As many as you want. Or Penny too. She's part of the show. She's doing a little nod right now. Any questions relating to like Chintimini Wildlife Center, birds, just go for it. And I will get to them and ask Kathleen as they come up. So Yeah, so I think Penny is wanting like the little limelight to her. Can you talk about Penny a little bit and like what her role is with Chintimini?
Yeah, so we've had Penny for I think about 5 years. Yeah, she was found as a chick, and someone took her in, and maybe they didn't know that there was a wildlife center nearby. We're not really sure about all the details, but she was imprinted by people, and so her role is an educator. So we talk about we do a lot of programs where we talk about what do you do if you find a baby bird, and how you shouldn't hand feed it, and how you shouldn't um, make it friendly to people, because then they don't learn how to fend for themselves. But Penny and I have done about, how many programs have we done? About 120 a year usually, or about 100 a year. So this is definitely different for us. We're usually out there traveling around to schools, and so this year has been a little weird, but I think the birds are fine with the time off. It's more like the people that are kind of itching to go out and doing things. But Penny does really like being around people, so her role is really an educator, honestly.
Awesome.
And she just likes to sit and yell. So
Yeah.
she's good
What's
at it.
what's the best part of working with her so far?
She's a lot of fun to work with. So she's got a big attitude. These small birds, they can have a huge attitude that kind of compensates for their small size, which I get. I love it. So she's a lot of fun. She's pretty vocal. She's very active. We do flights because physically there's nothing wrong with her. So we do flights with her. We have a flight cage, which people have seen, which unfortunately people can't see now. But yeah, she's just a really active little bird. And we have a team of volunteers who would usually be here every day. But now our schedule is we have a volunteer come in the morning, and then the staff comes in later. So our schedules are all weird with COVID-19. But she gets along with all the volunteers, and she's really adaptable. I think that's the thing I really like about working with her. She likes new things, so that's fun.
That's awesome. I am looking forward to meeting Penny when this is all over and we can
Yeah.
start talking again and visiting people. But yeah, Penny will be on my list for one of the first contact that I have.
Yeah. Yeah, she's pretty fun.
Awesome. And then speaking upon volunteers, one of our viewers asked us, California has an intro to wildlife certification via U.S. Fish and Wildlife. Does the Chintimini Wildlife Center Wildlife have similar setup for new volunteers? If not, how do you train volunteers?
Yeah, so on our website, we do have a tab that you can sign up for being a volunteer. So you just put in your information, and our volunteer coordinator would contact you about orientation. Right now, unfortunately, that's not going on because of the pandemic. We're pretty much on a skeleton crew in the clinic. And so it would be one of those things where you'd have to be on a wait list right now. But we would contact anyone that signs up online and let them know when the orientation would be. And I know that we're having some volunteers come out to do projects because we are on about 10 acres of land, so we can have people come out to just do a project here and there without having to make contact with any other people, so it's safe. But yeah, I would just encourage anyone that's interested to sign up on our website.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you. And then for a little like side note, Chintimini Wildlife Center is located in Corvallis, Oregon. So yeah, if any of you tune in right now or within the area or like a super close drive, just keep them in mind for future volunteer projects that you can help out with. And yeah, like Kathleen said, just access all the information you need to and sign up online on their website.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's great.
Can you talk more about the Rehabilitation Center and how you all go about rehabilitating wildlife?
Yeah, so Chintimini was formed in 1989, and it's grown. So we have a small house at the front when you come out to visit, when you're able to. There's a house up at the end of the driveway, and that's where all the rehab started. It was just in a house, in a bathroom. It was, I talk with my hands. So so over the years, it's expanded a lot. It's expanded a tremendous amount, and so there's a driveway that you go down, and then there is all this area. So we rehabilitate about a little. Did we do 2,000 animals last year? We did 2,300 animals last year. Yeah, and so when we're talking about rehabilitation, we mean any animals that are orphaned or injured. So maybe hit by a car, maybe hitting a power line. You know, as far as big birds go, sometimes that happens. Animals being poisoned, they come in here. Gosh, even unfortunately, victims of poaching. Like we've had a few bald eagles come in that have been shot, which is a bummer. And we can, we can, she doesn't like that. She's like, that's mean. No. So everything from tiny songbirds up to eagles and also bobcats. We get bobcats. So there's a few animals we can't rehabilitate, and that would be bears, cougars, coyotes. I can never remember. Wolves, not that we're gonna get any. But and deer, we can't rehab deer either. So all the rules are set forth by Fish and Wildlife, and so we abide by those rules and those laws, and but we do keep handy, you know, like if someone calls about a deer, there might be somewhere that can do deer, and so then we'll refer them. But anyway, yeah, so we do a really large amount of rehab in the area though. So if you find an animal in Albany, so like Lynn County, we have animals come over from the coast sometimes. So it's a pretty diverse area that we take in animals. And then the process goes something like, you know, you take in the animal. We have a veterinarian. You're so loud. We have a veterinarian that's on staff part-time, and so she can do surgeries, which is great. I'm gonna give her something else to eat because she is like yelling a lot. So here, do you want that? Okay, there we go. Maybe we'll chew on that and quit yelling.
What did you just give her?
I gave her some rat fur.
Okay.
Yeah. So if she has fur, she likes to pick at the fur and get to the skin. And so it takes her more time. It distracts her. But yeah, so we have a veterinarian that's on staff part-time that can come and do the surgeries and do the more kind of like invasive type procedures that the rehab staff might not be able to do. And then we keep moving them into larger enclosures as they heal, because the idea is we want to give them more movement. So if it's a bobcat that broke its leg, we, surgically fix the leg, and then we move it. We have it in a small enclosure where that leg's healing, but then once it's healed, we'll move it to larger enclosures, have it get some exercise. We'll give it live prey. Like we have a mouse house where we breed mice. And so we can make sure that an animal that is a predator can hunt before it's released, and we can gauge its ability to hunt. And then it gets released back out where it came from. So that's a really important note, is that we don't want to release 10 raccoons in one area, so everything has to go back to the area in which it came from. And sometimes it might not be safe to release the animal right where it came from. for whatever reason. So we would just try to get as close as possible to that area where it came from.
Awesome. And then just on an estimate, like how long could it take for an animal to fully be rehabilitated and then reintroduced into the wild?
Yeah, it really, really depends a lot on, so an orphan baby bird, they actually grow pretty fast. So we probably wouldn't have them for a huge amount of time, maybe a month. But something that would break its leg and it would take time to heal, that would take months. So maybe like 3 months or so. And then we'll have animals like turkey vultures, which migrate here, right, when it's warm. And then when it's cold, they need to go south. So we've had cases of animals who are injured right at the end of the month of when they should be migrating. Unfortunately, they come in with an injury, and then we can't release it. And so we'll have to do what's called overwintering, where we'll keep it for, let's see if this meat works instead. Oh, that's better. So we'll have to overwinter the animal and keep it until it's safe to release it back out to the wild. So we might have to keep it for close to a year. But if we need to do that, then we have to get permission from Fish and Wildlife to keep it that long. Because we are limited with how long we're able to keep each animal. And if we need to keep it for longer, then we have to say why and then get the approval from Fish and Wildlife. So that we're not, keeping animals indefinitely without releasing them, because that's not our goal. But I can't imagine anyone really wanting to do that, but it's probably to stop rehab centers from just like keeping something if it needs, that they shouldn't be. So if that makes sense, yeah.
Yes. Can you talk about what overwintering is a little bit more? Because I think you mentioned it, but I kind of wanted to clarify it a little bit more.
Oh, sure, yeah. So in the case of the vulture, they are gone at the end of November until the beginning of, say, March. They're not here in the state, so they have to leave. They have to migrate, and it would be maybe too cold for them to survive. And they're not the only species. Poor wills are another one that need to migrate. I remember years ago we had a poor will that had, I think it was a wing injury, and it lost some feathers, and we had to glue on some new feathers in order for it to fly. And we were afraid that we wouldn't be able to release it in time for it to migrate. But anyway, that was a whole fun thing. But yeah, so if we overwinter an animal, we're going to keep it in a heated enclosure, and we're going to make sure that it gets enough food and all that stuff so that it can be all nice and fattened up for getting released in the spring.
Awesome. Someone said, I get cranky and yell when I'm hungry too.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. She likes to yell at anything moving outside the window, I guess. We have this really huge window here, so she really likes it in here, apparently.
Yeah. So
all right.
And then someone said, who knew rat fur would make a good stress ball?
Who what?
Who knew rat fur would make a good stress ball?
Yeah, apparently.
I do have a question for you. So I think you talked about imprinting, and then that's why I assume Penny is very calm around you right now, or able to stay inside. Do you have just switching over to the conservation side of things? Do you recommend people imprinting upon animals? What is your take from that?
Oh, yeah, definitely not wild animals because it's not legal to do so. But yeah, so as far as education animals go, there are some people who will breed animals and then imprint them on purpose because they're better ambassadors like owls. Some people do that with owl species, and it does actually make them calmer around people because owls usually don't want anything to do with people, but if they're imprinted, then they are a lot calmer, and they'll actually be fine being around people. When they come from the wild, not so much. So there's definitely cases where imprints make better ambassadors, but also imprinting can make an animal really, really aggressive. So, for example, Penny, when she came to us, she had some pretty bad manners, like flying at your head, attacking you for food. So if she were any larger, it would have been terrifying. So it's, yeah, definitely only people who are trained and who know what they're doing should ever imprint an animal. So yeah, but never an animal from the wild though. Yeah, if that answers that.
Yeah, that is really good, like, you know, tip for everyone to use, because I think we oftentimes forget that we should just let nature do its thing. And then, like you said,
Yeah.
it's also illegal to do that on wild
Yeah.
animals, and just to leave it to the professionals and then contact a humane society or any rehabilitation center if you come across an animal, and let them take care of it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I want to mention that we have a relationship with the local humane society here in Corvallis, and then also Safe Haven. So if we find, like if actually a kitten was brought to us a while ago, because the finders thought it might be a bobcat kitten, and the kitten really does look like a little bobcat. It's very cute, but it wasn't a bobcat; it was a kitten, and a volunteer adopted it. But sometimes we will transfer, of course, any domestic animals to the humane shelters, and then vice versa. So if they get a wild animal in, then they can transfer it to us. So
Awesome. Yeah, thank you. And then going into like the conservation issues, I think when we were talking prior to this live stream, we wanted to talk more about how people can continue protecting wildlife from home or even in their neighborhood. Do you have any tips or suggestions on how they can go about that?
yeah, so one thing we would say would be really helpful is to not use poisons like rodenticides. So rat poison is it works up the food chain, unfortunately. So when you put out rat poison, you're poisoning more than rats. So rats will ingest the bait, the poison, and then an owl might catch that rat, and then the poison is ingested by the owl. Or maybe even sadder, if the owl feeds its babies the rat, then it's going to poison its babies. So and these are cases that we've seen here at the Wildlife Center, and it's not fun. We have some medication. We actually a shot of vitamin K that can stop the action of the drug. So what those rodenticides do is they actually cause internal bleeding, which sounds really awful. If you give them a shot of vitamin K, it can coagulate the blood so that they don't have that internal bleeding and they don't hemorrhage. So if you do find an animal that's poisoned, obviously bring it to us right away, because time is important. But it's best to just not use those things in the first place. There's other methods. You can talk to your pest control company if that's what you use. You can ask them, what can I use that doesn't move up the food chain and it doesn't impact wild animals in my area. So that's something important to do. And then another thing would be, simply putting up bird boxes, giving animals, especially during the summer as we move into these warmer months, giving them some water fountains, or like a bird bath is good. Planting native plants, that's something that's really important to do. I know Audubon has some good resources out there on what kind of plants to plant that are native to your state, to your area, which is really helpful, because it can be kind of overwhelming. Like, where do I start? Well, yeah, just go onto Audubon's website and you can see some really good info there. And that can attract some really neat wildlife to your neighborhood. So.
Yeah.
Provide shelter, food, all that stuff.
Great. And then we are going to start wrapping it up, but then there is one final question. If people want to continue asking questions, feel free to just comment down below and we'll get to them.
Yeah.
but you sent me a little bit about your background, and it was really interesting, and I wanted to talk about that a little bit more. But can you talk about what your background is, and like if it started in biology or birds, like where did it come from?
Yeah, it didn't. So I started off, I went to Oregon State and I wanted to go into business. I wanted to go into merchandising management. I wanted to work with fashion and textiles, and, I wanted to go into sales. But I ended up not really finding it that fulfilling of a career. And I realized that it wasn't so fulfilling once I started volunteering at Chintimini, actually. So I've always, ever since I was a kid, I wanted to be a veterinarian. I really wanted to work with animals. So I was like, why did I go to business school? I don't know. But it did teach me some very important life skills and management skills, which I definitely utilized. It didn't help me with birth. And I did study psychology, I did study biology as well, but it wasn't, my major was merchandising management. But once I started volunteering at Chintimini, I realized that my passion was actually with animals, and that I didn't, I wanted to kind of take a little loop and maybe go down a different path. So I started volunteering, and then I was really interested in the raptor education program, and I started working with the birds in the program, and then I got hired as an educator with the program, and then finally director. So, yeah.
How long have you been with Chintimini?
I've been with Chintimini since 2012.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah, and then thank you for that. I saw your biography and I was like, that's awesome. I have to ask her about it. And I know one of the questions was like, ask her about her background. So thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
I think it's always important to remind ourselves and other people that like you don't have to stick with what you're doing forever, and you can also like deviate and find your passion, just like you did.
Yeah, and you don't ever have to feel stuck. Like if you're doing something you don't enjoy, or something that isn't fulfilling, then you're not stuck. You can always do what you love in some capacity, even if it's volunteering at a wildlife center. If you've always wanted to work with animals as a kid, you can volunteer with animals. So
Penny agrees.
yeah, she loves it. She doesn't have a problem with any of that. So. Oh my gosh.
And then I think there's one more question, and then we can start wrapping up for the live stream. But this person asked, do you work with a pest control company for better methods? I guess going back to the rodenticide.
Do you work with what? Sorry.
Pest control company for better methods.
Yeah, that's a great question. Currently, we don't have a program where we are working with any local pest companies. However, we have inquired about what they've used. That's something. That's something that would be interesting to pursue. I think that's something that would be a future goal. Penny agrees as well. We do have a program where we've worked with local agricultural. I can't think of the words. We have a program where we work with local ranchers and people who own property on predator issues. So mitigating predators attacking their livestock and things like that. I forget what it's the Benton County Agriculture Wildlife Protection Program. That's what it is. And so we do that. So we've already kind of tread into those waters a bit, and it would be interesting to expand that to working with companies on pest control methods. Yeah, I think I would be happy about that, and that's a conversation that we've had before. So yeah, that could definitely be a future project.
Yeah, so hopefully someone who's tuning in or watching this video in the future, hit up Kathleen, and then maybe you two can work together on this
Yeah. Oh, for
project.
sure. Yeah. That sounds so great. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, thank you to Kathleen again and Penny for joining us today and kind of sitting down and then perching up to give us an insight on what Chintimini Wildlife Center is and then talk more about conservation issues and birds. It's been really lovely to have you. Is there anything you'd like to share about like for folks who want to get involved with Chintimini in the future?
Yeah, just check out our website. You can follow us on Instagram and on Facebook. We're pretty active with social media right now because that's the way that we can communicate with people.
Mm-hmm.
And we would normally be having an open house that we're planning for, and we do have an Art is Wild fundraiser every year, but we weren't able to do it this year. Maybe we're pushing it out. I'm not really sure. I think we're pushing it out. But yeah, so if you just follow us on those media platforms, and you can get the scoop on what's coming up for us. So yeah.
Awesome.
And Penny too. She would be at those, so
Yeah. Penny, do you have anything to add?
she makes her appearances. You have anything to say, Penny? 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 She's not gonna do it now.
And she's not screaming. But yeah, again, thank you, Kathleen and Penny.
Thank
for
you so
joining
much.
us.
Thank you, Anna. Thank you.
Yeah, and then for those of you who are tuned in today, thank you again. This video
Yeah,
will be
thank
saved
you.
and posted at a later time, and then I will post a little blurb about Kathleen and then kind of put in our contact information and like the website in which you can access all of our videos as well.
Yay!
Perfect. All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Bye. Have a good one.
Bye, you too.